Subscribe to STORYLAB for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Call from Hell. Victor Shepard had survived 18 tours in places that didn't exist on any map. He'd been shot twice, stabbed once, and blown up more times than he cared to remember. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the sound of Kelly Gibson's voice cracking through the satellite phone at 0300 hours. Victor. His ex-girlfriend's voice was hollow, scraped raw. It's Stella, his 17-year-old daughter. The only pure thing in his entire blood-soaked existence. Victor's hand tightened around the phone, his body already moving toward alert before his conscious mind caught up. What happened? 8 cops. God, Victor, they came to the house 3 nights ago. So they had a warrant. They didn't. They tortured her. For 3 days. Kelly's breath hitched. She's in ICU at Mercy General. Internal bleeding. Broken ribs. They did things, Victor. Things I can't say out loud. The room tilted. Victor had executed enemy combatants, had looked into the eyes of terrorists as they died, had done things that would haunt him until his last breath. But this was different. This was his daughter, his baby girl who sent him terrible drawings and asked him to bring her snow globes from countries he couldn't name. Names, he said quietly. Too quietly. The kind of quiet that preceded artillery fire. Perry Hancock. He's the sergeant. The others are Drew Wiggins, Robbie Hopkins, Carlos Hayden, Casey McKee, Myron McGee, Ernesto Harvey, and Jerome Benson. Kelly's voice turned bitter. They're all decorated officers. Internal Affairs won't touch them. The DA's office is already making noise about Stella being unreliable because she's been to therapy for anxiety. They're gonna walk, Victor. They're gonna fucking walk. Victor ended the call and walked through the concrete corridors of the black site, past prisoners who looked away from his expression. He found his commanding officer, Colonel Santiago Franklin, in the operations center, reviewing drone footage. "Sir, I need to speak with you." Franklin looked up, then really looked at him. In 20 years of military service, the colonel had learned to read men like topographic maps. Whatever he saw on Victor Shepard's face made him stand up and close the door. Victor explained. Every word felt like swallowing razor blades. Franklin pulled up his personnel file without speaking. 18 tours. 43 confirmed kills. 17 commendations. 0 disciplinary actions. A ghost who did impossible things in impossible places. "Son," Franklin said slowly, "you've given this country everything. Your marriage, your youth, pieces of your soul I'm not sure you'll ever get back." He pulled out a handwritten note. "I can give you 72 hours. Unofficial leave. As far as the record shows, you're running security assessments in Kabul." Victor's jaw clenched. "Sir, 8 corrupt cops at your daughter's house tortured her for 3 days. She's in ICU with internal bleeding." Franklin's eyes were steel. "You've served 18 tours. Here's 72 hours. Clear their names from existence." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. "That's 9 hours per cop," Victor said. "Each one will pay the price with their lives." Franklin handed him the note. This conversation never happened. There's a supply helicopter heading to Bagram in 20 minutes. Be on it. Victor Shepard had spent 2 decades learning to be a weapon. Now he would remember what it was like to be a father. The flight from Afghanistan to Virginia took 38 hours with connections and false passports. Victor used every minute to plan. He learned something valuable in his years of covert operations. Revenge without intelligence was just suicide with extra steps. He landed at Reagan National as Thomas Morrison, an insurance adjuster from Delaware. The passport was Israeli craftsmanship, good enough to fool anyone who wasn't specifically looking for him. He rented a Ford sedan with cash and drove straight to Mercy General Hospital. Kelly was waiting in the ICU family room, looking like she'd aged 10 years in 3 days. They'd been married once, a lifetime ago, before Victor's 3rd tour had convinced her that loving a ghost was too painful. They divorced amicably, co-parenting Stella with the kind of careful friendship that comes from shared history and mutual respect. Now Kelly stood and fell into his arms, and Victor held her while she shook. "She keeps asking for you," Kelly whispered. "She won't talk to the police." Won't talk to the counselors. Just asks when Daddy's coming home. I'm here now, Victor said. Where is she? Room 847. Victor pushed through the door and felt something inside him shatter cleanly in half. Stella looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, drowning in tubes and monitors. Her face was a patchwork of bruises, some yellow and fading, others fresh and purple. Both eyes were blackened. Her left arm was in a cast. The machines beeped steadily, marking time. Hey, Snow Globe Girl, Victor said softly, using his nickname for her. Her eyes opened. One was swollen nearly shut, but she saw him. Daddy. He took her uninjured hand carefully, so carefully. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. They said, her voice cracked. They said you were dead, that you'd never come for me. They said, she started to cry, and Victor felt something he hadn't felt in 18 tours. Pure, undiluted rage that had nowhere to go except inward. Tell me what happened, he said gently. Every detail. Can you do that? Stella nodded shakily and began to speak. Chapter 2. The Anatomy of Monsters. Stella's story emerged in fragments, pieces of a nightmare that Victor assembled with the cold precision of an intelligence analyst building a target package. 3 nights ago, at 11 p.m., 8 police officers had arrived at the small house Kelly rented in Riverside Heights, a working-class neighborhood in Newport News. They claimed to have a warrant for illegal substances, a lie, as Kelly had never touched drugs in her life, and Stella was a straight-A student at Jefferson High School. Sergeant Perry Hancock, he was in charge, Stella whispered. He kept calling me sweetheart in this way that made my skin crawl. Said they had an anonymous tip that Mom was dealing meth. When she told him to show the warrant, he just smiled. They'd ransacked the house for 3 hours. Found nothing because there was nothing to find. But instead of leaving, Hancock had sent 6 of his officers home and kept Drew Wiggins and Robbie Hopkins with him. Mom tried to film them on her phone, Stella continued. Hopkins took it and smashed it. Then Hancock grabbed Mom and said if she didn't cooperate, things would get worse for me. Her voice dropped to a whisper. He made her watch while they... You don't have to say it, Victor said. His voice was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that came before drone strikes. But Stella needed to say it. He could see that. So he held her hand and listened while his daughter described 3 days of systematic torture. They'd kept her in the basement. Used fists, batons, cigarettes. Took turns. Made Kelly listen from upstairs, telling her that if she called anyone, they'd kill Stella and make it look like a drug-related home invasion. Why? Victor asked. Did they say why? Stella's good, I met his. Mom overheard something. At the grocery store where she works. 2 of them, Hancock and Wiggins, were talking in the parking lot. She heard them mention someone named Simon Reese and something about Friday's shipment and splitting the take. She didn't think anything of it, but I guess they saw her. Thought she was a threat. Simon Reese. Victor filed the name away. They kept saying we were white trash, and no one would believe us anyway, Stella continued. And they were right. When Mom finally called 911 after they left, the cops who came wrote it up as a domestic dispute. The rape kit got lost. The evidence, photos, disappeared. Internal Affairs said there wasn't enough to proceed with an investigation. Victor kissed his daughter's forehead gently. Get some rest. I need to talk to your mother. He found Kelly in the hallway, talking to a nurse. The nurse, Louise Hoffman, according to her ID badge, looked troubled. I've been here 16 years, Louise was saying quietly. I've never seen injuries like Stella's marked down as undetermined origin in the chart. Someone's been editing her records, making it look less severe than it is. Who? Kelly demanded. Louise glanced around nervously. The night shift supervisor. Her husband is a cop. I think she's been told to minimize everything. She handed Kelly a flash drive. This is a copy of Stella's original intake photos and my notes. The real ones. Before they were altered. Hide it somewhere safe. Victor stepped forward. Thank you. Louise studied him. You're the father. The soldier. Yes, ma'am. Good. Louise's jaw set. Someone needs to do something. Those men are monsters. Victor spent the next 12 hours doing what he did best, reconnaissance. He started with social media, using a laptop and VPN routing through 7 countries. Perry Hancock was easy to find. The sergeant loved his public image. 53 years old, 28 years on the force, married with 3 kids. His Facebook was filled with pro-police posts, pictures of him at community events, photos of him coaching Little League. Victor dug deeper. Hancock's financial records showed deposits that didn't match his salary. His mortgage on a 4-bedroom colonial should have stretched him thin, but he'd just bought a boat. A nice one. Drew Wiggins, 31, divorced, no kids. Gambling problem based on his credit card statements. Lots of charges to Atlantic City casinos. In debt to someone probably. Robbie Hopkins, 28, engaged to a dental hygienist named Jane Boyer. Clean record, which made him either very careful or very good at hiding things. Victor built dossiers on all 8 cops, working through the night at a motel room 6 miles from the hospital. By dawn, he had a picture. Perry Hancock ran a crew within the Newport News Police Department. They were a protection racket, providing security for drug shipments moving through the port. Simon Reese was the name that kept appearing, a mid-level distributor who'd managed to avoid prosecution for 15 years. And Kelly had accidentally overheard them discussing business. So they decided to send a message. No one sees anything. No one hears anything, where your family pays the price. The problem was proof. Victor had circumstantial evidence and a traumatized teenage girl whose testimony would be shredded by any halfway competent defense attorney. The system was designed to protect officers like Hancock. Internal affairs, the DA's office, even the media, they all had reasons to look the other way. But Victor Shepard had spent 18 tours learning that systems had weaknesses. You just had to find the right pressure point. He made a call to Nathan Barrett, a former Delta Force operator who now ran a private security firm in Virginia Beach. They'd served together in Iraq and saved each other's lives more times than either could count. Nate, I need help with a problem. Victor? Jesus, I heard you were still overseas. What kind of problem? The kind where 8 cops torture my daughter and the system won't touch them. A long pause. I'm listening. Chapter 3, Building the Trap. Nathan Barrett arrived at the motel at 1,400 hours with a duffel bag and no questions. He took one look at Victor's face and said, "Show me what you've got." Victor spread the dossiers across the bed. 8 targets. 72 hours. I need intelligence and equipment. Nathan studied the files. Perry Hancock. I know this piece of shit. 3 years ago, he arrested a friend of mine on possession charges. Planted evidence. My friend did 18 months. He tapped another photo. Carlos Hayden was his backup. They run as a unit. Hancock, Wiggins, Hopkins, and Hayden. The others orbit around them. What about Simon Reese? Now, that's interesting. Nathan pulled out his phone and showed Victor's surveillance photo. Reese runs the port's distribution network. Heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, anything that comes in on container ships, Reese gets a piece. He pays protection to corrupt cops and has enough dirt on city officials to stay untouchable. Victor's mind was already 3 moves ahead. If Hancock's crew is protecting Reese's operation, that means they're witnesses to federal crimes. RICO predicates. Conspiracy. Drug trafficking. Sure, but you'd need evidence. And you'd need someone willing to prosecute. Nathan's expression was skeptical. The Newport News DA has been in Reese's pocket for years. Then we go federal. Nathan raised an eyebrow. You have a Fed who'll listen? Not yet, but I will. Victor pulled out his phone and scrolled through contacts. There's a journalist, Francine Vincent. She's been writing about police corruption in Virginia for the Post. If I can give her a story she can't ignore, she'll run it. And if it's public, the FBI will have to act. That's your play? Exposure? Nathan sounded doubtful. Part of it. Victor's smile was cold. The other part is more direct. He laid out his plan. It was elegant in its simplicity and ruthless in its execution. Victor had learned in Afghanistan that the best operations weren't the ones with the most firepower. They were the ones where the enemy destroyed themselves. Phase 1, Victor explained, we make Hancock paranoid. Convince him someone's coming for him. Not me. He doesn't know I'm stateside. Someone else. Make him think Reese has betrayed him, or that Internal Affairs is finally investigating, or that one of his crew is going to flip. Paranoid cops make mistakes, Nathan said slowly. Exactly. And when they make mistakes, we document everything. Photos, video, audio. Build a case that's ironclad. Victor tapped the dossier. Phase 2. We identify the weak link in the crew and flip them. My bet is on Drew Wiggins. He's in debt, he's got a gambling problem, and he's the youngest. Offer him a way out, and he'll take it. And Phase 3. Victor's expression went flat. Phase 3 is where they pay the price with their lives. But it has to look clean. No trail back to me, no questions about what happened. They need to destroy each other. Nathan considered this. You're talking about starting a war between Hancock and Reese. I'm talking about exposing what they've already built. They're criminals who've hidden behind badges. Once that protection is gone, they're just criminals. And criminals eat each other when they're cornered. You'll need equipment. Surveillance gear, weapons if it goes sideways, safe houses. Can you source it? Give me 6 hours. Nathan stood. Victor, I have to ask. Are you sure about this? These men have families. Lives. Victor thought about Stella's broken body in that hospital bed. Thought about her voice cracking as she described 3 days of torture. Thought about Kelly's hollow eyes. My daughter had a life too, he said quietly. They took it from her because they could. Because they knew no one would stop them. That ends now. Nathan nodded. 6 hours. I'll be back. While Nathan gathered equipment, Victor paid a visit to someone who could help him understand the local power structure. Ryan Weiss, one of the few honest cops in Newport News. They'd never met, but Victor had found Weiss's name in several internal complaints filed against Hancock and his crew, complaints that had been systematically buried. Victor found Weiss at a coffee shop near the police station, off-duty and looking exhausted. He was 42, with gray creeping into his hair and the weary eyes of someone who'd seen too much and could change too little. Detective Weiss? I need 5 minutes of your time. Weiss looked up warily. Do I know you? No, but you filed complaints about Perry Hancock in 2022 and 2023. I want to know why they were dismissed. Who are you? A father whose daughter was tortured by Hancock and his crew 3 days ago. A father who's going to make sure they pay for it. Weiss's expression shifted. Stella Shepard. I heard about that case. I also heard it got classified as insufficient evidence because someone buried it. I need to know who's protecting them and why. Weiss glanced around the coffee shop, then leaned forward. You really want to know? Captain Claude Ryan, the precinct commander. He's been covering for Hancock for 5 years because Hancock has dirt on him. Photos of Ryan with an escort service, financial irregularities. Ryan's 2 years from retirement and a full pension. He's not going to jeopardize that. What about the DA? Lucas Glass. He's not corrupt exactly. He's just a coward. Won't prosecute cases he thinks he'll lose, and going after cops is always a losing battle in this city. Plus, Hancock has connections with the police union. They'd make Glass's life hell. Victor absorbed this. So the system protects them. The system is designed to protect them. Weiss's voice was bitter. I've been a cop for 20 years. I believe in the job. But men like Hancock make me ashamed to wear the badge. Then help me. Ow! Tell me about Hancock's connection to Simon Reese. Give me something I can use. Weiss studied Victor for a long moment. If I do this and it goes sideways, my career is over. If you don't, how many more Stellas are there going to be? That landed. Weiss pulled out a notebook and started writing. 3 months ago, I was working a surveillance op on Reese's warehouse near the port. Saw Hancock and Wiggins go in for a meeting. Stayed for 2 hours. When they left, Hancock was carrying a duffel bag that looked heavy. I wrote it up. The report disappeared. Who took it? Captain Ryan. Said it was insufficient for probable cause and filed it away. Weiss handed Victor the notebook page. That's the warehouse address and the dates I saw them there. If you watch long enough, you'll see the pattern. Every Friday night, shipment comes in. Hancock's crew provides security. Reese pays them in cash. You have photos? Some. Not enough for a case. Weiss hesitated. Look, I don't know what you're planning, but if you're thinking about taking them on directly, you'll lose. They're cops. They have resources, backup, and legal protection. I'm not going to fight them as cops, Victor said. I'm going to expose them as criminals. Once the badge is gone, they're just 8 men who made very bad choices. Weiss smiled slightly. You former military? Something like that. Then you know about rules of engagement. This isn't a war zone. There are laws. Victor stood. Detective, they torture my 17-year-old daughter for 3 days because her mother overheard them talking. They broke her ribs, burned her with cigarettes, and did things I can't say out loud. Then they used their badges to bury it. His voice was ice. They declared war on my family. I'm just returning fire. Chapter 4. The First Domino. Nathan Barrett returned with equipment that would have made a CIA operations officer jealous. Micro cameras, audio surveillance gear, a laptop loaded with forensic software, 2 burner phones, and, notably, no weapons. Weapons mean intent, Nathan explained. This operation is about exposure, not execution. The moment you put hands on any of them, you lose the moral high ground and give them ammunition to discredit everything you've found. Victor accepted this. He'd killed men before, but always with the sanction of the state and the Geneva Conventions as guidelines. This was different. This required precision. Phase 1 starts tonight, Victor said. Hancock's got Little League practice at 1800 hours. Coaches his son's team every Thursday. We use that time to plant surveillance in his house. B&E on a cop's house? Nathan whistled. Ballsy. His wife takes their daughter to dance class during practice. House will be empty for 90 minutes. That's our window. They spent the afternoon running reconnaissance on Hancock's neighborhood, a subdivision called Magnolia Estates, cookie-cutter colonials with 2-car garages and manicured lawns. The kind of place where a corrupt cop could hide behind the American dream. At 1,750 hours, Perry Hancock backed his SUV out of the driveway with his 12-year-old son in the passenger seat, baseball gear in the back. Victor and Nathan waited 15 minutes, then moved. The back door lock took Nathan 45 seconds to pick. They entered in silence, gloves on, shoe covers in place. Victor had done this hundreds of times in hostile territory, but never in suburban Virginia, never in a house with family photos on the walls and children's drawings on the refrigerator. Kitchen, Victor directed. Plant 1 in the overhead light fixture. 1 in the living room, TV mount. 1 in the home office. They worked with military efficiency. The cameras were pinhole devices, broadcasting to a receiver Nathan had stashed in a foreclosed house 3 blocks away. Audio pickups went in the landline phone jack and the Wi-Fi router. Victor paused in Hancock's office. It was a shrine to his career. Photos of him in dress uniform, commendations, a shadow box with his badge and service weapon from his early days. On the desk, files. Victor photographed everything with his phone. Recognized some names, Reese's associates. 1 file was labeled Gibson/Shepard. Resolved. Resolved. Like his daughter was a problem that had been handled. Victor felt the rage again, cold and clarifying. He photographed the file contents methodically. Victor, Nathan's voice in his earpiece. Wife's car just turned into the neighborhood. 3 minutes out. They exited through the back door, locked it behind them, and were 2 blocks away when Mrs. Hancock's minivan pulled into the driveway. Phase 1 was complete. The surveillance feeds went live at 2,100 hours. Victor and Nathan watched from their monitoring station. The foreclosed house, abandoned for 18 months after the owner died and the bank repossessed it. No utilities except for a generator Nathan had brought. No furniture except folding chairs and tables covered in equipment. Perry Hancock came home at 21:45, his son already asleep in the car. Victor watched him carry the boy inside, noted the tender way he tucked him into bed. It was almost possible to believe he was a good man. Then Hancock went to his home office, poured 3 fingers of bourbon, and made a phone call. "It's me," Hancock said. "We've got a problem. Ryan just called. There's an FBI agent asking questions about port security. Someone named Morrison, supposedly doing a routine audit of dock operations." Victor's blood ran cold. Morrison was his cover identity. The FBI wasn't investigating, but Hancock didn't know that. Someone had mentioned the name, and now Hancock's paranoia was doing the rest. "No, I don't know how much he knows," Hancock continued. "But if he's asking questions about the port, he's asking questions about us." "Yeah, I know what Reese said. I know we're protected. But protection has limits. Look, I'm just saying we need to be careful. Maybe lay low for a few weeks." There was a pause. "Friday's shipment?" You're fucking kidding me. Drew, we should cancel. I don't care what Reese says. If there's a Fed sniffing around, fine, fine. But we double the precautions. And if anything goes wrong, we scatter. Agree. Hancock ended the call and drank his bourbon in one swallow. Victor could see the wheels turning behind his eyes. Fear, doubt, the beginning of panic. Perfect, Nathan murmured. He's rattled. Now we push, Victor said. He pulled out one of the burner phones and composed a text message to Drew Wiggins' number, using a spoof sender ID that would appear to come from Simon Reese. We need to talk about Hancock. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., usual place. Come alone. The message sent. They watched Wiggins' response on the intercepted phone records. 3 dots, then nothing. Then a call to Perry Hancock. Perry? I just got a weird text from Reese. Yeah. Asking me to meet him alone. No, I don't know what it's about. You think this is connected to the FBI guy? Okay, I'll go, but I'll be wired. Yeah, I trust you too. Victor smiled. The dominoes were falling. Chapter 5. Turning the Screw. Drew Wiggins showed up at the usual place, a parking garage near the port, at exactly 10 a.m., visibly nervous and wearing a wire that Victor could spot from 200 yards away with binoculars. Simon Reese never showed, because Simon Reese had never sent the message. But someone else was there, a man Victor recognized from his research. Ernesto Harvey, one of the 8 cops, approaching Wiggins with confusion evident on his face. Drew, what are you doing here? Reese asked me to meet him. You too? No, Harvey pulled out his phone. I got a text from Hancock saying to come here and keep an eye on you. Said you might be meeting with someone suspicious. The confusion on both their faces was perfect. Victor, watching from a van across the street, documented everything with a telephoto lens. Why would Hancock tell you to watch me? Wiggins' voice was rising. Does he think I'm going to flip? I don't know, man. He's been paranoid since that FBI agent showed up asking questions. What FBI agent? You don't know? Jesus, Drew, Hancock didn't tell you? There's an agent named Morrison doing an audit on port security, asking about police presence, about protection details. Wiggins went pale. That's it. We're done. I'm not going down for this. Don't panic. Don't panic? Ernesto, we tortured a teenage girl. We beat her for 3 days. That's not going away with a slap on the wrist. That's 20 to life if anyone talks. Victor captured every word. He positioned a directional microphone in the van, and the acoustics of the parking garage carried their voices perfectly. Harvey grabbed Wiggins' arm. Keep your voice down. We all agreed. No one talks. We all walk. Hancock has it handled. Hancock has it handled? Hancock's the one who's going to roll on us the second he gets squeezed. Wiggins jerked his arm free. I'm done. I'm getting a lawyer. If you get a lawyer, Hancock will know you're going to flip. And if Hancock knows, the implication hung in the air. Wiggins' face showed pure fear now. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. We're all in this together. If one domino falls, we all fall. Wiggins turned and walked away fast. Harvey stood there, looking uncertain, then pulled out his phone and made a call. Victor couldn't hear it, but he could guess. Harvey was calling Hancock to report that Wiggins was cracking. By that evening, the surveillance feeds showed a meeting at Perry Hancock's house. 6 of the 8 cops showed up. Hancock, Wiggins, Harvey, Hopkins, Hayden, and McKee. Missing were Myra McGee and Jerome Benson. Victor made a note to find out why. They gathered in Hancock's basement, and Victor watched the show unfold. We have a problem, Hancock began. Drew's talking about getting a lawyer. All eyes turned to Wiggins, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the couch. I'm not talking about flipping, Wiggins said defensively. I'm talking about protecting myself. If this FBI thing is real. The FBI thing is a smokescreen, Hancock interrupted. I made some calls. There is no Agent Morrison. No audit. Someone's fucking with us. Silence. Then Casey McKee. Who? I don't know. But someone knows about us. Knows about the Shepherd girl. Knows about Reese. Knows enough to make us paranoid. Hancock's voice was hard. So here's what we do. We accelerate Friday's shipment to tomorrow night. Get it done fast. Take our cut. And then we go dark for 6 months. No contact with Reese. No side jobs. Nothing. What about the girl? Robbie Hopkins asked. What if she talks? She won't. Her mother's too scared, and the girl's too traumatized. Plus, we've got Ryan covering it at the precinct level and Glass sitting on it at the DA's office. Hancock looked at each of them in turn. But here's the thing. We all stay united. The moment one of you breaks ranks, we're all done. So I need to know right now, is anyone having second thoughts? The silence stretched. Then, one by one, they shook their heads. Good, Hancock said. Tomorrow night, we do the job, get paid, and disappear for a while. And if I find out who's been fucking with us, they're going to regret it. Victor turned off the feed and looked at Nathan. Tomorrow night. That's when we move. What's the play? We document the shipment. Get everything on camera, the drugs, the money, Hancock and his crew providing security. Then we drop it on Francine Vincent's desk with a bow. In Phase 3, Victor's expression was grim. That depends on whether they learned anything from hurting my daughter. If they walk away tomorrow night, if they take their money and disappear, then I'll let the system handle them. FBI, DA, whoever wants the case. And if they don't walk away, then I make sure they can't hurt anyone else's daughter ever again. Chapter 6, The Shipment. Friday became Thursday, which meant Victor had less than 12 hours to prepare. He called in another favor, this one from an old friend in the DEA named Luis Stokes, who Victor had worked with on a joint task force in Colombia. Luis, I need a favor, and it's going to sound crazy. Victor Shepard, I heard you were still overseas. What kind of crazy? Victor laid it out. 8 corrupt cops, a drug distributor named Simon Reese, a shipment coming through Newport News port tonight. And you know this how? Luis asked. Surveillance. I've been documenting everything. A pause. Victor, are you running an unauthorized investigation on U.S. soil? I'm gathering evidence about the men who tortured my daughter. What happens with that evidence is up to you. Another pause. Send me what you've got. If it's solid, I'll see about getting a federal warrant. But I can't promise anything. These cases are political nightmares. I'll have everything you need by tomorrow morning. Just be ready to move. Victor ended the call and turned to Nathan. We need to be on site tonight. I want video of every exchange, every face, every dollar bill. They geared up. Night vision, long-range cameras, audio equipment. Victor hadn't felt this focused since his last operation in Kandahar. The familiar pre-mission calm settled over him. The warehouse was on the port's south end, a rust-streaked building that had once housed shipping equipment and now served as a waypoint for contraband. Victor and Nathan positioned themselves on the roof of an adjacent building with clear sight lines. At 2,100 hours, the players began arriving. First, a panel van with Delaware plates. 3 men unloaded wooden crates marked as automotive parts. Simon Reese himself supervised, a nondescript man in his 50s who looked like an accountant. Second, Perry Hancock's unmarked police cruiser. He emerged with Drew Wiggins, both in civilian clothes, but with service weapons visible on their hips. Third, 2 more vehicles with the rest of the crew. Hopkins, Hayden, Harvey McKee. Still missing were McGee and Benson. Victor filmed everything in HD, the timestamp burning into each frame. The exchange was businesslike. Hancock's crew positioned themselves as lookouts while Reese's men moved the crates into the warehouse. Then the money, duffel bags, 3 of them, handed over to Hancock. He opened one, checked the contents, nodded. Everything's here, Hancock said. His voice carried in the night air, picked up by Victor's directional mic. Then we're done, Reese replied. Next shipment's in 3 weeks. No, we're going dark for a while. Too much heat. Reese's expression hardened. That wasn't the agreement. The agreement changed when the FBI started sniffing around. There is no FBI investigation. I checked. Then someone's pretending to be FBI, which is worse. Hancock's hand drifted toward his weapon. 6 months. Then we talk. The tension ratcheted up. Reese's men moved closer. Hancock's crew did the same. Victor watched through the camera lens, ready to call 911 if it turned into a shootout. You're making a mistake, Reese said quietly. I've kept you protected, made you rich, and this is how you repay me. I'm protecting my people. 6 months. Reese studied him, then nodded slowly. 6 months. But this conversation isn't over. They separated, each group taking their vehicles and leaving. Victor had it all on camera. Faces, license plates, duffel bags full of cash, crates of drugs. Got it, Nathan confirmed. Every second. Good. Now Victor's phone buzzed. Kelly's number. Victor, they just came to the hospital. Her voice was terrified. Myra McGee and Jerome Benson. They told the nurses they needed to interview Stella. When I said no, they said they had a court order. Victor, I don't think they're here to talk. Everything inside Victor went cold. Lock the door. Don't let them in. I'm 20 minutes away. They're cops, Victor. If I don't let them in, they'll force their way. Kelly, listen to me. Lock the door. Call hospital security. I'm coming. He was already running for the van, Nathan right behind him. Chapter 7. The Line in the Sand. Victor broke every traffic law getting to Mercy General. His mind was running calculations. McGee and Benson had been the missing pieces at the shipment, which meant they'd been assigned a different task, silencing Stella before she could testify. He parked illegally and sprinted through the emergency room entrance, taking stairs instead of elevators. 8th floor, room 847. 2 uniformed officers stood outside the door. Hospital security, not McGee and Benson. Sir, you can't. Victor showed them the flash drive Louise Hoffman had given Kelly. I'm the father. Those men try to force their way in. Call your supervisor. Now. One officer looked uncertain. The other pulled out his radio. Before he could speak, the door opened and Kelly emerged, her face pale. They're inside, she whispered. They made the nurses leave. Said it was official police business. Victor didn't think. He pushed through the door. Myra McGee and Jerome Benson stood on either side of Stella's hospital bed. McGee was 48, overweight, with the casual cruelty of a man who'd learned he could get away with anything. Benson was younger, early 30s, and looked uncomfortable. They both turned when Victor entered. You must be the father, McGee said. We need to speak with your daughter. Official investigation. Investigation into what? Victor's voice was deadly calm. The assault you and your partners committed. We don't know what you're talking about. McGee's hand rested on his service weapon. And you need to leave before I arrest you for interfering with an investigation. You're not investigating anything. You're here to intimidate a witness. Stella's monitors started beeping faster. She was awake, terrified, looking at the 2 men who'd been part of her nightmare. Benson shifted uncomfortably. Look, we just need to ask her a few questions. She's 17, she's traumatized, and you're not speaking to her without a lawyer present. Victor positioned himself between them and Stella's bed. Get out. Or what? McGee stepped forward. You going to assault a police officer? That's a felony. I'm not going to assault anyone. Victor met his eyes. I'm going to tell you that everything you've done, every crime, every payoff, every shipment has been documented. I have video of tonight's exchange with Simon Reese. I have audio of Hancock coordinating the protection racket. And I have testimony from my daughter about what you and your partners did to her. McGee's face went carefully blank. That's a nice story. Got any proof? Victor pulled out his phone and played a clip. Hancock and Reese exchanging duffel bags for crates. Timestamp from 3 hours ago. Both cops went still. That's illegal surveillance, Benson said. No, it's citizen journalism. And it's going to the FBI tomorrow morning, along with everything else. Victor pocketed his phone. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this hospital. You're going to go home. And you're going to pray that the federal prosecutor offers you a deal when the indictments come down. You're bluffing, McGee said, but his voice lacked conviction. Try me. The standoff lasted 10 seconds. Then McGee turned and walked out, Benson following. But at the door, McGee looked back. This isn't over. Yes, Victor said quietly. It is. After they left, Victor held Stella while she cried. Kelly joined them, and for a moment they were a family again, broken but together. They're going to come back, Kelly said. They're not going to just let this go. They don't have a choice. Victor pulled out his phone and sent the video files to Louise Stokes with a message. Everything you need. Names, faces, crimes. Move fast. The reply came back 30 seconds later. Received. Briefing my supervisor now. Federal arrest warrants by morning. Victor showed Kelly the message. It's over. By tomorrow, they'll all be in custody. And then what? A trial? They'll lawyer up, fight it for years. Meanwhile, we're in witness protection, looking over our shoulders. She was right. Victor knew she was right. The system would grind slowly, and in the meantime, men like Perry Hancock had resources and connections. They could reach out from behind bars, could make life hell for anyone who testified against them, unless there was no one to testify against. Victor kissed his daughter's forehead. I need to go take care of something. I'll be back before morning. Victor, trust me. He left before Kelly could argue. Nathan was waiting in the van, monitoring the surveillance feeds. Hancock just got a call from McGee. He knows you have the video. Good. How's he taking it? Not well. He's calling an emergency meeting. Looks like they're gathering at the warehouse where the shipment was. How many? All 8. They're panicking. Victor felt the cold clarity of a mission objective. Take me there. Victor, if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, I'm thinking that my daughter's life is in danger as long as they're free. I'm thinking that the federal courts will take months to indict, years to convict, and in the meantime, they'll be out on bail with access to weapons and resources. He looked at Nathan. I'm thinking that I gave them a chance to walk away, and they chose to go to my daughter's hospital room instead. Nathan drove in silence for a moment. Then what do you need? A witness. Someone who'll testify about what happens next. Someone clean. Ryan Weiss. Perfect. Victor called Weiss's number. Detective, I need you to meet me at the warehouse on Port Street South. Bring backup. You're about to catch 8 corrupt cops red-handed. What are you planning? Justice. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. Perry Hancock stood in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by 7 men who'd trusted him, followed him, believed he'd keep them safe. Now, they were looking at him with accusation in their eyes. You said we were protected, Carlos Hayden said. You said the Shepherd girl was handled. She was handled. I don't know how the father got surveillance. Because you got sloppy. Drew Wiggins' voice cracked. You said it was a routine intimidation. You said no one would care about some white trash kid. And now we're looking at federal charges. Shut up, all of you. Hancock's voice was hard. We still have options. What options? Robbie Hopkins demanded. The FBI has video of us taking money from Reese. Then we flip on Reese. We say he coerced us, threatened our families. We play the victim card. No one's going to believe that. They will if Reese is dead. The words hung in the air. Victor, watching from a catwalk above the warehouse floor, filmed everything with perfect clarity. You want to kill Reese? Casey McKee looked horrified. I want to survive. If Reese is dead, he can't testify. And all we have to say is that he was a threat to us, that we acted in self-defense. Hancock looked at each of them. We're cops. Our word against a dead drug dealer? We'll walk. That's insane, Benson said. You have a better idea? Silence. Then Myron McGee. What about the girl? She's still a witness. Victor's hand tightened on the camera. We handle her too, Hancock said. Make it look like an accident. Medication error. Something. Without her testimony, all they have is circumstantial evidence. You're talking about killing a kid in a hospital bed, Ernesto Harvey said quietly. That's different than what we did before. Before is why we're here. Hancock's control was slipping. We crossed the line 3 days ago. There's no going back. So either we finish this, or we spend the next 20 years in prison. Victor had heard enough. He descended from the catwalk silently, Nathan covering him from above. At the bottom, he stepped into the light. Or Victor said, you face what you did. 8 hands went to 8 guns. 8 cops spun toward him. Victor Shepherd, Hancock said. His weapon was out, aimed center mass. You just made a fatal mistake coming here. Did I? Victor stood still, hands visible, holding his phone. Because I've been recording this entire conversation. Every word about killing Reese, killing my daughter, conspiring to obstruct justice. And it's streaming live to 3 different servers. Bullshit. Victor showed him the phone screen. The red live indicator was clear. Hancock's face went pale. Then rage overtook calculation. I'm going to kill you. Right here. Self-defense. You came at me with a weapon. I'm unarmed. Not after I plant one on you. Victor smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Go ahead. Pull the trigger. Murder me in front of 7 witnesses while being live-streamed. See how that works out for you. The standoff stretched. Hancock's finger was on the trigger, but Victor could see the wheels turning. If he fired, he was finished. No story would cover killing an unarmed man on camera. You're bluffing about the stream, Hancock said, but his voice wavered. Test me. Before Hancock could decide, the warehouse doors burst open. Ryan Weiss entered with 6 uniformed officers, all from neighboring jurisdictions. Cops Hancock couldn't have corrupted. Police, drop your weapons. For a moment, it could have gone either way. 8 corrupt cops against 7 honest ones. Victor stood in the middle, unarmed, waiting. Then Drew Wiggins dropped his gun. Then Benson. Then one by one the others. All except Perry Hancock. I'm not going to prison, Hancock said. Not for that trash kid. He raised his weapon, not at Victor, but at his own temple. Don't, Victor said, not pleading, commanding. Don't give yourself an easy way out. My daughter didn't get an easy way out. She had to survive 3 days of hell. You're going to survive your trial, your conviction, and every day in prison knowing what you did. Hancock's hand trembled. Then, slowly, he lowered the gun and let it clatter to the floor. Smart choice, Weiss said, moving forward with handcuffs. The arrests were textbook. Weiss had coordinated with the FBI, and federal agents were waiting outside. By midnight, all 8 cops were in custody, charged with conspiracy to distribute narcotics, civil rights violations, obstruction of justice, and attempted murder. Simon Reese was arrested 2 hours later at his home, his own phones having been tapped as part of the federal investigation Louise Stokes had expedited. Victor stood outside the warehouse, watching the last patrol car drive away with its cargo of former officers. Nathan joined him. It's done, Nathan said. Not yet. Chapter 9, Closure. The trials took 11 months. Victor attended every day of testimony, sitting in the gallery with Kelly and Stella. He watched as the prosecution built their case with the video evidence, the audio recordings, the financial records Nathan had helped uncover. Drew Wiggins flipped first, testifying against Hancock in exchange for a reduced sentence. Then Benson, then Harvey. By the time Hancock's trial began, his defense was shredded before it started. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Perry Hancock got 35 years federal. The others received sentences ranging from 15 to 25 years. None would be eligible for parole before serving at least 10 years. Simon Reese got 40 years under RICO statutes. Captain Claude Ryan and DA Lucas Glass both resigned in disgrace. They weren't charged criminally, but their careers were over. Francine Vincent's expose in the Washington Post won a Pulitzer. She'd taken Victor's evidence and expanded it into a comprehensive investigation of police corruption in mid-sized Virginia cities. The fallout led to federal oversight of 4 police departments and major reforms. Victor didn't care about the awards or the reforms. He cared about one thing, Stella. His daughter spent 6 months in physical therapy and another year in counseling. She'd never be the same. Trauma doesn't work like that. But slowly she healed, started smiling again, started talking about college. On a Tuesday in September, Victor drove her to the University of Virginia for her freshman year. She'd chosen to study criminal justice. Someone has to fix the system, she'd said. Might as well be me. They unloaded her things into her dorm room while her roommate, a cheerful girl named Julie Bates from Richmond, asked about her favorite bands. Stella answered, laughed, acted like a normal 18-year-old. And maybe she was becoming one. When everything was unpacked, Stella hugged Victor at his truck. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. I didn't do anything. You made them pay. You made them face what they did. That matters, Dad. That matters so much. Victor held his daughter and felt something loosen in his chest. The rage that had carried him through 18 tours, through 72 hours of calculated revenge, through months of trials, it was finally dissipating. I love you, Snow Glow Girl. I love you too, Dad. He drove away from UVA as the sun set, heading back to Newport News where Kelly was waiting. They were trying again, not as husband and wife, but as partners learning to trust each other after everything had fallen apart. Victor's phone rang. Colonel Franklin. Shepard. I need you back in Afghanistan. New mission, high priority. For 18 tours, Victor had said yes immediately. This time he hesitated. Can it wait 6 months, sir? I'm still on leave. A pause. Then, you've earned it, son. 6 months. Then we'll talk. Victor ended the call and kept driving. Maybe he'd go back to Afghanistan. Maybe he wouldn't. For the first time in 20 years, he had a choice. And for the first time in 20 years, he wasn't running toward violence. He was running toward something else. A daughter who was healing, a second chance at family, a life beyond the black sites and the missions that didn't exist. Perry Hancock and his crew would spend decades in prison. Simon Reese would die behind bars. The system that had protected them was exposed and broken. Justice wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean, but it was done. Victor Shepard had cleared their names from existence, not through execution, but through exposure. He'd turned their corruption back on itself, made them destroy each other, and ensured that every crime was documented and punished. His daughter was safe. His mission was complete. And for the first time since that phone call in Afghanistan, Victor Shepard could breathe. A father's revenge, earned through intelligence, strategy, and the kind of calculated precision that comes from 2 decades of covert operations. Perry Hancock and his crew paid the price, not with their lives, but with their freedom, their reputations, and the rest of their years. Sometimes the best revenge isn't death. Sometimes it's living with what you've done.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you